Hey, Shalom Wa QAM Yasharahla. Today we're going to read the book of Judith, chapters 3 and 4. This is the book of Judith, chapter 3. So they sent ambassadors unto him to treat of peace, saying, Behold, we the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, the great king, lie before thee. Use us as shall be good in thy sight. Behold, our houses, and all our places, and all our fields of wheat, and flocks, and herds, and all the lodges of our tents lie before thy face. Use them as it pleaseth thee. Behold, even our cities and the inhabitants thereof are thy servants. Come and deal with them as seemeth good unto thee. So the men came to Holofernes, and declared unto him after this manner. Then came he down toward the sea coast, both he and his army, and set garrisons in the high cities, and took out of them chosen men for aid. So they and all the country round about received them with garlands, with dances, and with timbrels. Yet he did cast down their frontiers, and cut down their groves, for he had decreed to destroy all the gods of the land, that all nations should worship Nebuchadnezzar only, and that all the tongues and tribes should call upon him as God. Also he came over against Esdraelon, near unto Judea, over against the great strait of Judea. And he pitched between Geba and Scythopolis, and there he tarried a whole month, that he might gather together all the carriages of his army. This is the book of Judith, chapter 4. Now the children of Israel that dwelt in Judea heard all that Holofernes, the chief captain of Nebuchadnezzar, king of the Assyrians, had done to the nations, and after what manner he had spoiled all their temples, and brought them to naught. Therefore they were exceedingly afraid of him, and were troubled for Jerusalem, and for the temple of the Lord their power. For they were newly returned from the captivity, and all the people of Judea were lately gathered together, and the vessels, and the altar, and the house were sanctified after the profanation. Therefore they sent into all the coast of Samaria, and the villages, and to Bethoron, and Belman, and Jericho, and to Koba, and Asura, and to the valley of Salim, and possessed themselves beforehand of all the tops of the high mountains, and fortified the villages that were in them, and laid up victuals for the provision of war, for their fields were of late reaped. Also Joachim the high priest, which was in those days in Jerusalem, wrote to them that dwelt in Bethulia and Betomistim, which is over against Esdraelon, toward the open country near Dothan, charging them to keep the passages of the hill country, for by them there was an entrance into Judea, and it was easy to stop them that would come up, because the passage was straight, for 2 men at the most. And the children of Israel did as Joachim the high priest had commanded them, with the ancients of all the people of Israel, which dwelt at Jerusalem. Then every man of Israel cried to Yahweh with great fervency, and with great vehemency did they humble their souls, both they and their wives, and their children, and their cattle, and every stranger and hireling, and their servants, bought with money, put sackcloth upon their loins. Thus every man and woman, and the little children, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, fell before the temple, and cast ashes upon their heads, and spread out their sackcloth before the face of the Lord. Also they put sackcloth about the altar, and cried to the power of Israel, all with one consent, earnestly, that he would not give their children for a prey, and their wives for a spoil, and the cities of their inheritance to destruction, and the sanctuary to profanation and reproach, and for the nations to rejoice at. So Yahweh heard their prayers, and looked upon their afflictions, for the people fasted many days in all Judea and Jerusalem before the sanctuary of the Lord Almighty. And Joachim the high priest, and all the priests that stood before the Lord, and they which ministered unto the Lord, had their loins girt with sackcloth, and offered the daily burnt offerings with the vows and free gifts of the people, and had ashes on their mitres, and cried unto the Lord with all their power, that he would look upon all the house of Israel graciously. That's the book of Judith, chapters 3 and 4. Yahweh Shemel Shai Barakathum, and as always, double shalom.